All right, everybody. Over the weekend, I saw Annihilation. So let's talk about Annihilation. Okay? So those who aren't familiar, Annihilation is essentially it's the new movie with Natalie Portman where she plays a lady scientist who goes into a quote-unquote shimmer to discover its strange, possibly alien origins. And if I had to describe the movie, it would be kind of like an episode of the Twilight Zone or Outer Limits meets The Thing. And that basically is kind of a way I would sum it up. So essentially the whole idea is that this the strange meteor lands in Louisiana, and it strikes this lighthouse, and then a strange shimmering bubble emits from it, and then slowly expands, eating up the coastline of Louisiana and part of the Everglades. Or wait, they call it the Everglades, Louisiana? The swamp, whatever they call it there. And so essentially, Natalie Portman plays a scientist, and university science professor who also used to be in the military, and who believes that her husband has died in action overseas or somewhere else. And then one day, her husband shows up just randomly at her door, has no memory of where he's been or why he's there. He just remembers her. And so... But he immediately starts to die, and so she tries to take him to the hospital, only to have their ambulance get hijacked by a bunch of, standard government types in black SUVs, who then bring her to Louisiana and introduce her to the situation with the bubble, which they've been covering up as a toxic spill. And she pretty much learns that her husband was someone who went into the bubble, or as they call it, the shimmer. And so she is determined to go into the shimmer. And the movie is just well-crafted, just very well-crafted sci-fi from beginning to end. Natalie Portman is part of a actually all-female team going into the bubble after they've already tried several, mostly male military units. But now they're sending in a psychologist, a biologist, an astrophysicist, some type of physicist. I forget what the other lady was, and a female EMT. And so they all go in to the shimmer, and stuff is crazy already. The thing about... I refer to the thing because there's a heavy interplay in the movie about sort of mutation and evolution and how, species adapt and evolve. And the thing about it is that once they go inside the shimmer, it's as if everything were starting to merge together genetically. Crocodiles and alligators are now part of other animals, and there's plants that are taking on human form because they now have human DNA in them. And it's a freaky good time. It is a very serious movie, I'll be honest. A lot of heavy tones. I actually found the romance between Natalie Portman and her husband played Oscar. I think that's Oscar Isaac. He spends most of it in a coma with a thing over his mouth. So I forget. But they both do a great job, and I found the romance between them to be very touching and sad. In a lot of ways. And it all sort of builds into a climactic ending. And I'll be honest, leading up to that ending, I was like, it better be good when they get there. And it pays off. It pays off pretty well. And the ending is solid and very enjoyable for me. So if you like a good, hard science fiction movie, I definitely absolutely have to recommend Annihilation. Definitely go check it out. It's absolutely worth watching, especially if you're a big fan of science fiction. I haven't read the book, so I have no idea what the difference is between the book and the movie, which one's better, whatnot. But I've been told there is a book. I really got to start looking stuff up. So yeah, I definitely give a solid recommendation to the movie. The only thing I would say is that honestly, it's a minor complaint. Is that in the movie there's just a number of parts where like the blow by blow is a less is more predictable. Is kind of predictable. Not like in the overall plot or story or whatnot, but just like tiny things that I'll talk about in the spoilers, where it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I knew that was going to be where they were going with that. But yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. Definitely worthwhile watch, especially for the science fiction fans out there. So I give Annihilation. I give Annihilation a 9. It's very solid film, very entertaining throughout, very well crafted, a fine piece of science fiction. Definitely worth your time. All right, so we're going to go to spoilers real quick. So 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So the thing I was talking about, how it's kind of a little bit like The Thing, is because like the way that the danger and mutation sort of brings itself about is similar to The Thing, except it's not just flesh. It's plant life too, and mold and flowers and trees and other animals as they sort of like merge together genetically and become. There are some freaky effects in this, because as the movie goes on, you learn that the bubble is actually a prism that is mutating everything inside the prism to sort of and merging them. Their DNA is sort of interplaying so that this alien species can determine how it wants to survive on this planet. And as the movie goes on, what we realize is that essentially at some point, this alien entity merged with her husband, created a copy of him, and then had the original blow himself up with a phosphorus grenade, because that's fucked up. And essentially, but the thing is about this alien is that it now has this sort of like, it is now seeking out the main character played by Natalie Portman. It now is searching for her, because when it absorbs a human being and whatnot, it also takes on their memories and feelings and emotions and all their genetic code. So it now understands that it doesn't understand why, but it knows that it's in love with this woman. And the confrontation with the alien at the end is trippy. It's a real trippy fucking ending. Definitely worth the watch. There's also some really crazy shit. The thing I said that was kind of predictable is that there's this part where the EMT lady goes crazy and like ties up the two scientists and the psychologist, and like is losing her mind. And then all of a sudden she hears off in the distance the cry of someone who she thinks is one of the people who has died, still alive. And of course it turns out that it's actually the animal that ate that girl, who just absorbed some of her genetic code via contact with her, and so can now imitate her cries for help. And I'll be honest, I saw that coming. I knew that was what was happening as soon as I heard the woman crawl for help, because that woman was definitely dead. Now, I mean, they could have had a copy of that woman shows up afterwards, because that would have also made sense in the context of the movie. But part of me knew it was the animal imitating her scream. And so that's kind of, so like little moments like that are very predictable throughout the movie, but overall it's still very worthwhile watch. There's some very freaky stuff as the DNA starts to alter the human beings and they start becoming less human. Yeah, and like then there's the ending, which she knows at the end that the person she thinks is her husband, that she originally thought was her husband, is in fact this alien copy of her husband. And she knows it, and she says that you're not Kane. And then he asks, are you I've forgotten her name. But basically Natalie Portman's character asked if she's her, and she's like, yeah. Oh no, she actually doesn't answer him. I'm sorry. But it doesn't matter, because the DNA is also inside of her. And sort of like, the ending is great. I'll just fucking ruin the ending. So the way she gets away from the alien at the end is by tricking it into holding a phosphorus grenade. And as the phosphorus grenade goes off in the hand of the alien starts to mimic the phosphorus reaction. And once the alien starts mimicking the phosphorus action, it can't turn it off, and the phosphorus reaction just incinerates its entire ship and destroys the shimmer. But yeah, so definitely go check out Annihilation. If you can pull your stuff away from Black Panther, which is also amazing. It's a shame this movie has to compete with Black Panther because they're both totally worthy of box office success. Definitely go see Annihilation. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Watch my other videos. So yes, thank you very much. Give it a 9. Great movie. Go check it out.